Recording. Okay, let's bring the meeting to order. This is the Historic District Commission, Town of Fairfield. The date is April 11th, 2024. The time is 4:28. We're starting late due to technical issues. Notice of this hearing was published in the Friday, March 29th edition of the Fairfield Citizen. And I'll take attendance. Mark Kravanis, Commissioner.
I'm here.
Thank you. Rosina Negron, Commissioner.
Here.
Thank you. Darren Raymond Locke, Commissioner.
Here.
Thank you. George Clark, Commissioner.
Here.
Jim Bohan, Alternate Commissioner.
Present, Adam, thank you.
And James Accomando, Alternate Commissioner. And he's trying to get in. At the moment, James is absent, and I know Maura Jarrett is absent as well. Okay. First item on the agenda, 163 Harbor Road, LLC, 163 Harbor Road in Southport, Connecticut, for property located at 163 Harbor Road in Southport to A, lift existing house 5 feet, B, alterations and additions to existing house, C, decks, C, fences and enclosures, E, walks and patios, F, change driveway, G, AC equipment, H, generator, I, exterior lighting, J, vegetative screening, K, raised top of seawall 1 foot, and L, flood vents and mechanical vents. We have someone here to represent.
Yes, Adam, can you hear me?
Harbor Road. Yes.
Yeah, Jack Franson here representing 163 Harbor Road. And can I share my screen?
Yes, please.
All right. Okay. So 163 Harbor Road, we're proposing alterations and additions to the existing home. This includes revisions to the previous application that we presented on March 14th. And the structure is located at the corner of Harbor Road and River Street and on the west side of the Mill River estuary. According to the guidebook, the Cape-style house was designed by William Henry Jackson of Greenfield Hill. He was known for his colonial revival homes. The house was built 8 years before the creation of the Southport Historic District in 1958, and it was remodeled by Ben Baker in the 1990s. The property is located in the AE12 flood zone, and because the work that is proposed exceeds 50% of the value of the structure, it will be deemed substantial improvement. For that reason, and on the recommendation of zoning staff, we're proposing to raise the house to have the first floor at elevation 15.86. Currently, it's at 10.86. Right now, the required minimum first floor elevation, assuming that there's no girder under the house, would be at least 14, because you have to allow foot of clearance under the framing. Recent experience is that the flood maps get revised every 10 years or so. So we believe it is prudent to anticipate the next map revision and elevate it a little higher than what we have to, which is 15.86. Incidentally, this is very close to the first floor elevation of the house that's immediately to the south of us. The same AE12 zone affects several other structures on this side of Harbor Road, and it's likely that more structures will fall into the zone or maybe even the V zone if the map is updated. There is some of the V zone on this property, although we're not in it. Aside from the lifting, the significant changes to the massing will be the addition of a second floor over the south wing, which is this area right here. New covered front porch, which is over here. And changes to the decking and stairs on the back of the house. And there's a dormer going on the central wing of the house. The reason for the addition of most of the living space on the south wing is because the central roof line is the most important feature of the house. And also it's in the setback, so we can't add bulk to that part of the house without going to ZBA. And ZBA would say, well, if you have an alternative, you have no hardship, and our alternative is to put it on the south wing. The site plan illustrates the proposed changes to the driveway, walkways, fencing and screening and mechanicals. In the back of the house, we have a compound for the AC units. And on the south side, we have the generator, which is screened by vegetation. And there is a new fence proposed that runs along Harbor Road to meet up with the seawall. And the seawall is proposed to be raised 1 foot. And talking with Bonnie, it turns out the state would approve going higher than that, but we do not plan on going higher than 1 foot. The existing proposed elevations this is the front of the house. Demonstrate the doorways, the trellising, the flood vents, and the other materials that we're using. This version that you're seeing today is a little different because we have shingles on the house instead of clapboard. And the chimney that was much taller, this will be a non-functioning chimney, but it will be the height that it is, which is looks better, and I think is a big improvement. The approach is, like I said, due to the zoning issue, to maintain the footprint of the original house. So everything you see is going on the footprint that's there. The same thing applies to the massing on the north end of the house. It's being lifted, but this is all, except for the dormer that's being added on the front, this is all currently there. It's just at a lower elevation. In the rear, you can see what's going on. The exposed portion of the back of the house will have wood slats to allow the flood water to go in and out. And the new steps you can see going up to the decking. The gable roof that was on the dining room wing is being replaced with wood decking and a railing. With respect to the style of the house, we are trying to respect the original architect's intent, which was, I think I explained back in March, Jackson was influenced, I think, by Royal Barry Wills and other New England architects who popularized small colonial Cape Cod reproduction houses. There are a bunch of them in Greenfield Hill. I know some of them are on a street where he built a house. So I'm sure that he was thinking of this type of architecture in 1958. The massing that we are dealing with here, which is basically, keeping the central cape portion of the house and the garage and adding a 2-story, 3-bay, or adding a second story to a 3-bay wing is something that you will see being done by these architects. And I think I gave examples. I do have a picture that I'm going to share later. We did take inspiration from one of Royal Barry Wills' homes that has that type of massing. We do have decorative lattice on the house, which is happening over the side door over here, and also on the south and on the east side. That's wrapping around. That's a detail that Cameron Clark liked to use on some of his houses. Here's some photographs of the existing house from the different angles: Harbor Road, my office bridge, the corner of Harbor and River, coming down Harbor Road, and then looking from a distance from the parking lot of the Tide Mill building. We are proposing a generator. Here's the cut sheet for the generator. The AC units will look like this. The lighting proposed, the garage door light, the exterior lights, and the step lights that are on the fence. The SDL windows, the exhausts for the fireplace and the hood, and the flood vents that will go around the foundation in the areas that don't have the slats. And we also took some time, but we had our rendering revised. So we now have a 3D version of the house that shows the shingle siding and the lower chimney. And we have the other side of the house as seen from the bridge. Same thing. It's got now showing the shingle siding and the lower chimney. And we have some other images to share. Just another reminder of what we're dealing with. This was the storm. I think this was back in February, the big storm, which was not a hurricane or it was not a major storm, but it was a bad one. This is the seawall, the current seawall. It's going to come up 1 foot, and it will look the same style of stonework and joints and what have you as what you see here. This is the Royal Barry Wills inspiration massing photo that I shared last time. This is just an aerial view, again, a reminder of what's going on. You can see the other houses on that side of Harbor Road. You can see that in terms of the footprint, ours is certainly not the largest, and it may be significantly farther from the road than the other houses, with one exception, which is this one here. And as I said before, what we're doing, everything's going to fit on this footprint. This one here, it's just from a different angle. And I'm showing this one because of what's going on the back of our house, which is basically rebuilding the decking that's there and putting a deck on top of the dining room wing as it measures up against some of the other houses on the Harbor Road on the same side of the street, and just the relative impact of what we're doing versus what's already there as you move up the street and up the harbor. So I think that, you've all seen this before. I've been through the changes that we made. I'm going to open up to questions. I do have some remarks that I prepared for, because there were some letters that came in both this time and the last time. Last time the letters came in late and I didn't have a chance to really respond to some of the comments. So I'm prepared with some additional remarks, but I'll wait and see what questions come up and what other people have to say.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Art, do you have any questions?
Not at this time, Adam. Nice job, Jack.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dana, questions?
No questions at this moment. Thank you.
Okay. Darren, do you have any questions?
No questions from me, thanks.
And George, questions?
You're muted, George.
George, you're muted.
Thank you very much. Jack, nice presentation. Thank you. Some nice improvements to the earlier plans. As you know, my hang up is the far left-hand, right-hand side of the house is that I know you, I don't think you have or maybe you do. Do you have a image from that side looking down Harbor Road?
I have a photograph.
Yeah, but I'm looking at seeing what you're proposing. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go to the architecture. Hang on one sec.
Yeah,
Whoops, that's the wrong one.
that's all right.
There we go. Yeah, this elevation right here.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's really my hang. I think that little addition that you've done over the side door, you know, that starts to slice it up a little bit, break it up, making it a large facade.
Yeah.
But I guess that's my concern, and the massing of the house in total. When I look at the comparative shots, you can see even in that image right there, the difference between the proposed and the original. You got a lot more house, but I'll listen and I'll get back to you if I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Jack.
Yeah. So well, maybe I'll wait until everyone has a chance and then I'll.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Jim Bohan, do you have any questions?
Thank you, Jack. Nice presentation. No questions.
And Jim Akamanda has joined the meeting a little late, 4:38, I believe. Jim, do you have any questions? I think you might be muted. I see you're unmuted, but I can't hear you. Well, welcome to the commission, Jim. I'm sure you'll figure it out. Moving on. So, Jack, I guess the one thing I was a little struck by, I think there's a new drawing that you had with the neighbor's house. If you could scroll to that one next to it. Yeah. Oop.
I think I went too far. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. And just zoom in a little bit. I guess what struck me was that the ridge of the proposed is slightly higher than the ridge of the neighbor. And I was sort of under the impression that it was going to be more equal or lower. So that sort of threw me off a little bit. Also, I know that Bonnie sent an email to the commission with her concerns about the way this whole procedure has gone, and I responded by an email saying that, she has addressed most of the issues that the commission and the neighbors have had, initially with the style and then somewhat with the massing, but the massing still hasn't really been addressed significantly. I mean, from the last application to this one, I mean, how much did you drop the house?
I think it's about a foot.
Yeah, so pretty insignificant in the grand scheme of things, and I don't think you're going to even notice that. I also mentioned that I suggested exploring perhaps lowering the roof and dormering out more on the second floor, and perhaps you're not going to get a full dormered out third floor office to get the massing down. But it doesn't appear that was explored at all. So I just wanted to point that out. before moving forward. Those are my comments. Did you have any other thing to say, Jack, before we do have letters to read into the record?
Yeah, so the only thing I would say is we did our best with this drawing. I can't vouch for its, 100% accuracy, but I think I do have the correct floor elevations for all these structures. I just, I'd have to get up on a ladder to measure 187. I did my best, just counting the clapboards and what have you. So maybe maybe we are a little bit lower than what I'm showing here, but based on my numbers, this is where I think we are. And I think when you look at, in reality, and this is the way historic districts are supposed to be judged, when you see these houses, 187 is so close to the road, it's always going to look bigger than what's next door, even when we do if we're approved and we do the addition. It's just the nature. Like, I always think about like when you fly over a city and you look down, there's no perspective because the farther you get from an object, the actual effective perspective diminishes almost to zero. But when you're close to something like on a street or a sidewalk, and you're 25 feet away from something, and there's something else that's 35 feet away, the thing that's 25 feet away looks one heck of a lot bigger. So I think that has to be taken into account. And you can see it here. I mean, you can imagine what another story on this is going to look like. And it's never going to look bigger than what you see at 187, just because it's so much farther back from the street. So, I've been given a brief to work with from my client to try to, satisfy our interior requirements, and this is where we ended up, and we do think it's appropriate given the circumstances. And I'll wait until the letters are read because I do have some other remarks that I want to make. But I'm listening to you, Adam.
Okay. No, I do agree that, especially looking at a two-dimensional drawing versus, perspective, you don't get the full sense. I mean, you can't look at it in 2 dimensions and get a sense of scale,
Yeah.
appropriate scale. I agree. Okay. Okay, we're going to read the letters into the record. Darren, you do the honors, please.
Sure.
So it's going to take a while.
It will. Let me just make them bigger on my screen so I could actually see them. Okay, so we'll start with the ones in favor. Dear members of the HDC, having been a Southport resident and living in one of Bonnie Page's homes for over 6 years, it is our absolute pleasure to express our genuine support of her work and the plans being presented. She not only takes into consideration the Southport historical heritage, but revives it with a new classicism that enhances all of the properties surrounding what she renovates or builds. Not only are the proposed plans for 163 lovely, but the new home will create a pleasant and welcoming entrance from the Post Road entrance to Southport Village. All of our neighbors should be appreciative of what Bonnie is trying to continue to do for Southport by restoring and renovating existing Southport homes with beautiful designs and landscapes that are within the HDC guidelines. Thank you for all your efforts and passion for our beautiful and special community. Tally and Rob Ackerman, 998 Pequot Ave. Please, this one is being read as anonymous. Dear members of the HDC, as a resident of Fairfield County for over 20 years, the past 6 years in both Fairfield proper and Southport, I would like to relay my continued support for Bonnie Page and her exemplary architectural design and renovation work completed within the town of Southport and its environs. Her residential restorations over the past 2 decades and more have consistently exhibited a well-honed design sense that respectfully looks to the past for the creation of harmonious residences that are an asset to the community. Upon review of the plans for 163 Harbor Road, I find once again her exquisite level of taste and refinement is reflected in the work intended for the property. The execution of these plans to an updated historically referenced residence would be yet another building of her design to be admired and incorporate a high quality of aesthetic to the street scene on Harbor Road, Southport. The current structure is an aesthetic deficit to the community. Bonnie's wherewithal to take on this project as her private residence will be an absolute and clear benefit to the community. Sincerely, a concerned citizen and resident of Fairfield. Dear Commissioners, as an 8-year resident of Southport's Historic District, I very much support the mission and hard work your commission expends to ensure the ongoing architectural integrity of our village remains a top priority. Thank you for your service to our community. The submitted proposed changes to 163 Harbor Road represent an opportunity to improve this location in a manner that is appropriate, desirable, and falls well within the HDC handbook guidelines. It should also be noted Bonnie Page's track record of appropriate site development within our community is one of distinction and industry recognition. I urge you to approve her plans as submitted, as they are in the best long-term interests of Southport's Historic District. Please feel free to contact me with any questions. Sean Cohen, 275 Center Street. And the last one. Dear Chairman Cliver, we are currently residents of Southport living at 222 Willow Street and formerly lived on the Old Post Road in an 1850 home in the Historic District. We strongly support the application of Bonnie Page for her home at 163 Harbor Road. Bonnie is a talented builder with a keen eye and a strong desire to construct/renovate homes in keeping with the neighborhood in which they exist. She has most certainly done that with the place submitted for your approval. We walk and drive by the house nearly every day and believe it will be a tremendous improvement for the neighborhood and the historic district. We are intimately familiar with the Fairfield's Historic Districts and Properties Handbook and believe this application is completely within its guidelines. Bonnie has worked tirelessly to improve this application, and we urge the commission to approve it. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Very truly yours, Ray and Linda Rizzio. All right, so those are all the ones in support. So here are the ones that have something different to say. To all members of the Historic District Commission, having had a chance to review another application for appropriateness and remodeling 163 Harbor Road, I am very disappointed that the addition still seems to completely overshadow the original house. This property, unfortunately for the owner, can be viewed on 3 sides: the street, the water, and the bridge. It sits adjacent to the Tide Mill building, one of the oldest buildings in Southport. This prominent spot should, in my opinion, require special attention to the historic guidelines. This application is for appropriateness to the historic district and has little to do with the town's zoning regulations, which the owner has referred to in the past and claims to have adhered to. The proposed addition seems massive, too large, too high, and totally overpowering to the original house. Particularly since this house needs to be elevated to avoid tidal flooding, I feel it is not appropriate to add a 3rd story, which significantly increases the bulk of the addition and adds to its massive appearance. Southport is a special place reflecting its history and attempting to preserve that history that could easily be ruined if it were not for this committee and the work they do. As a lifelong resident of Southport, I ask the committee to look carefully at this proposal and have the owner modify her plans to make this house more appropriate for its prominent location in Southport's historic district. Thank you, Bessie Bradley. Dear Adam and Historic District Commission, we live at 211 Harbor Road, Southport, and write to oppose the latest plans for 163 Harbor Road. I served on the Historic District Commission when we lived in Wilton before moving to Southport in 2008. We understand the need to elevate 163 Harbor Road, but oppose the height, scale, and mass of the new plans, along with the major changes to both the streetscape and waterscape and viewing corridor. Appears the height is raised more by the new addition than by lifting the house. In addition of a 3rd floor noted as attic on the plans and numerous additional windows, dormers, doors, and porches are not in keeping with the Historic District Handbook. 163 Harbor Road is visible on all sides and the proposed changes are significant. There is an additional chimney as well as the addition of a 2nd front door. While it appears the height of the addition on the right has been lowered a bit in this latest plan, and we notice and appreciate improvements made since the initial applications were submitted, we oppose the overall height and mass. We also ask if the footprint is enlarged. That's a question. With all due respect, if a homeowner chooses to buy a house in an HD and decides they do not like the house or that the house is too small, that is a personal matter for the homeowner, not for the HDC or for neighbors who treasure and support their historic district and other HDs. We want to mention that, as you may have noticed, the photos of 163 Harbor Road included in the application are old, taken before the homeowner fixed up the house early last summer after buying it and before renting it to tenants. There are numerous examples of houses in Southport's Village Historic District that have been altered on the inside or by an addition but without significantly changing the exterior of the house or its streetscape or waterscape. Though there are few exceptions, houses that were dramatically changed and enlarged, we remain hopeful that this will not happen to the charming low-profile house that has rested gently next to the tide mill at 163 Harbor Road since 1958. Residents of historic districts all over New England, along with those who genuinely admire and enjoy historic districts, rely on historic district commissions to protect neighborhoods from designs and dimensions that alter the exteriors of the original structures to such a degree the essence of the original structure is lost. Thanks for what you do to protect and preserve Southport's Village HD and for your consideration of our comments. Best, Cynthia Michael Crawford, 211 Harbor Road. All right. Dear Historic District Commission, we live across the street on 160 Harbor Road, and we are writing again to express concern and opposition to the revised plans for 163 Harbor Road. We support the letters written by our neighbors, including John Wynn and Jan Carpenter and Cynthia and Michael Crawford. We continue to believe the height, scale, and mass of the new plans are still not in line with HDC guidelines. Thank you for your continued attention to the plans for 163 Harbor Road. Best, Catherine and Graham Nix, 160 Harbor Road. All right. Dear Adam, it is wearying that to have yet again to review another proposal from Mrs. B. Page for her house at 163 Harbor Road, which persists to ignore some of your commission's recommendations and rules established by the Historic District's Handbook. I've attached to this response several current pictures of 163 Harbor Road as it looks today from Harbor Road and from the water. It is an attractive, well-proportioned 7-room house of 2,400 square feet with 4 bedrooms and 4.5 baths, 2 fireplaces, and an attached garage. The building commands an important position in this area of the historic district. It sits on 0.31 acres at the corner of Harbor Road and River Street, overlooking the eastern end of Pequot Harbor, adjacent to the bridge over the Mill River, and on which the historic Tide Mill building sits. This building, which has undergone many seemly alterations, was built as a grist mill in 1697 by Thomas Bedient. Quote, he was the first of many millers who used the tide to power his mill wheel, unquote. Directly across the street from number 163 are several more historic homes dating back to the 1700s and 1800s, which have undergone tasteful and proportional renovations in recent years. These 3 buildings, along with other neighboring homes, have for centuries defined this part of Southport as being significantly historic. This area of the historic district is extraordinary for its examples of early American antiquities, which must not only continue to be protected by the HDC, but celebrated by all who live or visit Southport. It is my understanding that the HDC, in granting a certificate of appropriateness, must adhere to the guidelines determined by the Connecticut State Statutes, Chapter 97, Title 7-147F. This section, current as of June 28, 2021, defines the items that must be considered. Quote, in passing upon appropriateness as to exterior architectural features, the Commission shall also consider, in addition to any other pertinent factors, the historical and architectural value and significance, architectural style, scale, general design, arrangement, texture, and material of the architectural features involved, and the relationship thereof to exterior architectural style and pertinent features of other buildings and structures in the immediate neighborhood. From Fairfield's HDC Handbook, Chapter 1, 9A addresses the need to consider scale, arrangement, and relationship to the neighborhood, as quoted below, and has served as the impetus for my concern. In passing upon appropriateness as to exterior architectural features, the Commission shall also consider, in addition to any other pertinent factors, the historical and architectural value and significance, architectural style, scale, general design, arrangement, texture, and material of the architectural features involved, and the relationship thereof to the exterior architectural style and pertinent features of other buildings and structures in the immediate neighborhood. Often one cannot perceive the reality of a design on paper, such as the additions Ms. Page is proposing to 163 Harbor Road. Therefore, the HDC has the ability to require that poles be erected on its site to get the full impact of the new additions to the house from both the harbor side as well as the Harbor Road side. Even though her house must be lifted because it is in a flood zone, the house must meet the qualifications of appropriateness for a historic district. In that, this is Ms. Page's fourth submission. I urge the HDC help her understand the impact of her additions by putting up poles for all to see from both the street and water side. As commissioners, we rely on you to advocate for the regulations in the HDC handbook in order to help us citizens of Southport preserve the historic character and appeal of our village. Although Ms. Page over time has improved her submission, she still does not understand the HDC's guideline pertaining to the height, scale, and relativity to its neighbors. Therefore, I again implore you to deny this proposal. In so doing, you will safeguard the visual integrity of the area, ensuring that her property will not have a negative impact on her immediate neighbors, while your commission continues to fulfill its mission of protecting the historic districts throughout the town. Sincerely, Alice E. Strokes. And this is the last letter, April 10th, 2024. Members of the Fairfield Historic District Commission, thank you to the Commission for your continued diligence and service in maintaining the town's historic districts and properties. We are property owners at 144 Harbor Road, which is directly across the street from the subject application. We understand the need of the applicant to raise the structure to comply with flood mitigation requirements. We also understand the desire to increase the usefulness of her home. Our thanks to the homeowner and her architect for making the changes reflected in this application, as they are improvements from the initial set of applications. While there are many aspects of the current submission which are improvements over prior applications, the key remaining issue is the scale and massing of the major addition to the right side of the front elevation. This concern is not new and is not adequately addressed at this point. The HDC should review the application to further identify potential revisions which would allow the proposed structure to better align with the neighborhood and achieve quote historic fit for this smaller property. Per HDC guidelines, new additions should be more diminutive and defer to the existing structure. Rather, the massing of the major component of the addition seems to entirely overwhelm the existing structure. We observe that there are first and second floors with ceiling heights that exceed 8.5 feet per floor, and a third floor ceiling height that can be estimated at nearly 8 feet. We wonder if there is further opportunity to economize on these dimensions and further reduce how the addition presents itself to the street and the west side elevation. We recognize that reductions have already been made, yet continue to note how the proposed addition continues to overpower the existing structure and the adjacent structure at 187 Harbor Road. The visual impact of it is significant from all angles, and particularly if one will be heading east on Harbor Road towards the Tide Mill Bridge. The rear elevation has also seemingly had the dormer on the third floor addition extended and includes supplemental windows, now 4 windows versus 3 previously. I wonder if the size of the dormer and related windows being adjusted might be an area to explore in the objective of reducing the overall height and massing of the addition. These potential changes might be able to be done while maintaining the owner's desire for additional function. We urge the HDC to continue to work with the owner and her team to find ways to achieve the desired objectives of the historic district and the owner. Thank you for listening and for your difficult work. Sincerely, John Wynn and Jan Carpenter, 144 Harbor Road. That's it.
Thank you, Darren. I have a couple more that I've got after I sent those to you. This one is from Staffkanog, and it says, Adam, I'm writing to express our continued opposition to the proposed changes at 163 Harbor Road. Changes to view corridor scale inappropriate to the lot and concern from the neighbors who remain opposed. I will send a formal letter this AM, but want to make sure Staffkanog's opposition is on record. Thank you, Jake Chang. I didn't receive a follow-up to that, but they are in opposition. The next letter is from Sean and Megan Kelly to the Historic District Commission. We offer our great thanks to the HDC for your professionalism, wisdom, and diligence. We support the perspective of fellow neighbors who have written in more detail about the particulars of the application. Our comments here are more general. Because the property at 163 Harbor Road is in such a prominent geographical position at the eastern entrance to Southport, we feel it's essential that any changes to this property be appropriate and respectful to the historic character of our unique locale. With its high visibility, this property sets the tone for the village, and so we believe it should also set and maintain the highest standard. Commissioners, we understand that you have an extremely important job and a difficult job, and we thank you. We appreciate that even though an application may have had multiple various incarnations, members of the HGC will view any current application as if it were a new application and will apply to it your rigorous requirements, regardless of the number of repeat submissions. And we admire that you're able to look at a revised proposal with fresh eyes, as if to ask, if this were presented for the first time, would it meet the criteria set out in the guidelines? We're grateful for the Historic District Commission's tireless efforts in maintaining the high quality of architectural aesthetics that the village of Southport deserves. Thank you very much again for your excellent work. Best wishes, Sean and Megan Kelly, 204 Harbor Road. Jack, would you like to respond to the letters?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back and respond to the letters and also a couple follow-up comments to commissioners' comments. I think we did address the 3 items requested at the last meeting, or the 4 items requested at the last meeting. Obviously, we did lower the roof. We went from the clapboard to the shingle siding. We lowered the chimney, and we provided the streetscape drawing that was requested. The repeated questions and issues, I realize that the neighbors are having a rough time with this, so I'm trying to explain this in the best way that I can. I do believe that we've demonstrated that not only there are other homes nearby that are massed in a similar way, but that homes in Fairfield of the same style and by architects who were of the same persuasion, validate what we're doing here. We do have a streetscape drawing that establishes parity with 187 Harbor Road and the other houses on the street. And I guess my question would be, and I think it's a fair one, if you were to take, for instance, 187 Harbor Road or the other houses to the south that are in that same flood zone, and take the lowest floor in those houses and raise it up to elevation 15.8, what would they look like? There was a comment about engineering measures that we could possibly use to reduce the height. We've already done that, and there was a comment that our ceiling heights were in excess of 8'6". That is not the case. The overall floor to floor is 8'10.25", so that includes the structure. And now the ceiling heights on the 2 main floors are actually lower than 8.5 feet. We do not have a 3rd story. We have an attic, which in the middle is about 8 feet, but then it's lower. Obviously, on the street side, it goes down to 0. And the other side, there's the shed dormer, which is not a high roof. It's a lower roof. So there's really not a lot of headroom up there. Increased mass, height, and scale and added features were talked about: windows, doors, chimney, dormers, that they're inappropriate. The elements that are being mentioned are all appropriate in harmony with the existing home. The HDC was not created to prevent homeowners from adding space or adding features. Rather, it was to facilitate these activities according to standards, but with discretion as to the specific circumstances. In this instance, the only way to expand involves rearranging the interior logic of the house, because the only place that she can expand is on that south wing. And then if you then realize that that's the main part of the house, it would make sense to have a door on that part of the house. For example, there was some, actually, I was going to answer George's concern about the gable, the south-facing gable. In fact, It's about the same size as other gables that one sees walking or driving up the street. Specifically, 241 Harbor Road comes to mind, which has a north-facing gable that you see on the left as you go up Harbor Road, and 204 Harbor Road as you come down. And these gables are exactly the same size, and if anything, more visible than what we're proposing. So you're already looking at something that's very similar. There was some comment, the roof angles when viewed from the bridge look like a hodgepodge. The roof angles that we have are the same roof angles that are already there with the addition of the gable, and the gable has the same pitch as the existing roof on the central section. The guidebook, somebody referred to the guidebook sections in the statute, section 7-147F. And this does need to be addressed. And I'm not arguing with the logic or the general applicability of that particular passage or the other ones in the guidebook. But here, I think the circumstances call for discretion on the part of the commission, because the guidebook does not address situations where the property is A, on a non-conforming lot, B, exposed to view from a public way on 3 sides, C, subject to extraordinary setback limitations, and D, also in a flood zone. The area where the applicant's proposing to add the most space is literally the only place where an expansion is practical. And it's not really for me to decide whether this is an instance why, if you want to start referring to the statute, you could refer to 7-147V, which is in the enabling statute that says variations are permissible when, by reason of topographical conditions or location or other unusual circumstances, the strict application of any provision of this part would result in exceptional practical difficulty or undue hardship upon the owner. The commission, in passing upon application, shall have the power to vary or modify strict adherence to the provisions of this part, provided such variance or modification shall remain in harmony with the general purpose and intent of this part, so that the historic district and architectural aspects of the historic property shall be conserved. In granting variances or modifications, the commission may impose reasonable stipulations and conditions, and will, in its judgment, better fulfill the purposes of this part. The commission shall, for each variance or modification granted, place upon its records and the notice to the application's reasons for its determinations. And when you look at the state guidebook, which is the 2010 edition, talks about the same thing. HDCs have the authority to vary, modify, or interpret, to review standards to accommodate unusual situations. And they go on to pretty much say the same language. But, it's these 4 conditions that we have. They don't exist anywhere else in the historic district, where you have the setback issue, the flood issue, being visible on 3 sides, and the undersized lot. So it fits all these qualifications that are described in the statute. As far as putting up poles, I think the commissioners, you have an architect on your commission, you have a preservationist, you have other seasoned commissioners. I think the drawings and the exhibits that have cost the client a lot of money so far probably are enough to judge whether this is appropriate or not. But if that's something that, had to be done, I suppose we could do it. Anyway, that's it. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jack. Would anyone in the commissioners want to have anything else to add before we close the hearing? I'll just go through. Art, do you have any follow-up questions, Art?
No, Adam.
Okay, Rosanna, follow-up questions? And Darren,
None for me.
George? George?
None, thank you.
Jim Bohan?
No further
No
questions. Thank you very much, Jack. Thank you, Adam.
Jim Accomando? Questions? No, you have no audio showing. Okay. So we read the letters. Would anyone in the audience like to speak, from the public like to speak in favor of this application? Raise your hand or speak up. No, would anyone like to speak against this application? Okay, so the hearing's closed. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you very much, Adam.
Next item on the agenda is David and Tina Montani, 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield, for property located at 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield for A, new fence, B, revised rear roof line at mudroom master, C, revisions to various windows, D, box bay window in first floor office, and E, revision to chimney.
Hello, everybody. Brian
Um,
St. Pierre. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going to recuse myself, Rosina Negron.
Okay, Rosina's accusing herself. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Brian St. Pierre,
So,
speaking on behalf of
before-
David and. Oh,
Sorry, Brian. I just want to state that Jim Bohan will be voting on the 920 Old Post Road application. Okay, Jim? Okay, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
thanks, Adam. Again, Brian St. Pierre speaking on behalf of David and Tina Montani. I'll blow through this as quickly as I possibly can, since we're running behind and you've probably already heard it all before. First item on the list is a proposed new fence. That fence is going to be on the north side of the property, which is the long straight side, separating the two properties. As I mentioned before, this is a continuation of an existing fence that is currently in the northwest corner of the property. There's about 20 or 25 feet that's currently already existing on the property. The fence is going to be a tongue and groove cedar fence with a topping on it. This is the current fence that sits along the property line as it sits now. As I mentioned, we're going to continue this down to the street. The new fence is actually lower than this one. This fence is shown at about 8 feet or so. Our fence is about 6 feet. And again, with the exhibits, it's the tongue and groove cedar fence, and we have added the, I want to get the right name here, the classic Victorian top. It's basically a picket style topping, obviously to match the existing fence that's there now. Second is the revision to the rear roof line. Went over this last time too. This revision is over the existing mudroom area. So as you look on the screen here, this on the left side is the previously approved drawing showing that the roof has a gable over the top of the master bedroom and mudroom area. We are proposing to hip that roof back instead of a gable, taking away some of the massing of the back of the building there. It also allows us to fit a window properly on the backside of the building. And mainly the reason for that was there was an issue with a beam that was up in the attic on the floor that stuck through the floor that didn't allow us to have the attic go out that far anyway. So we thought it was appropriate to hip that roof back. While we're here on the side, the other change to the roof, and I explained this in the last meeting, I will take full responsibility for this one. It was a drafting error on my part on the first go around. And what ended up happening was, if I can get to the second floor here, I'll start with the site plan. With the site plan, the second floor overhang was always proposed not only here on the original site plan, but also on the floor plans with the numerous revisions that we've done to this project. I missed it. I accept full responsibility for it. And just trying to get back to this picture for you. So basically what ended up happening is that second floor, you can see here, jutted out over the existing mudroom and kitchen area. After discussions with some of the commission members and actually seeing it out in sight, we determined that maybe a decorative bracket or a column would be appropriate for that area. However, the whole reason that the first floor sits back is because of the tightness of the driveway and getting back to the garage area. So a column would not work, but we believe a nice decorative bracket makes that overhang look a little bit more appropriate for the use of it. Obviously, the second floor space in the master bedroom is necessary. And again, taking it on the chin, it was definitely a drafting error on my part. Next item is revisions to the windows. So again, we went over these with a couple of the commissioners in the field. Starting with the front of the building, absolutely nothing's changed since what was approved and what we're proposing here. I'll come back to the chimney side because we can kill two birds with one stone. But on the driveway side, we have an addition of 2 windows into the master bedroom area from the previously approved. So previously approved, we had no windows on that driveway side. We've since added 2 windows for additional light into that master bedroom area. The other window on this side is the kitchen window. This 3 wide casement went from a single casement to a triple casement. Again, over the top of the sink. This ended up being, what I'll call the darker side of the house. So the addition of the additional window and light coming into the building, we feel is necessary, and also the appropriateness of the casements we believe fit well with the house. Going to the chimney side, again, on the left side is what was previously approved. On the right side is what we're proposing. One of the questions that came up last meeting was whether the chimney was going to fit, or I should reverse that, whether the window was going to fit on the left side of the chimney as previously drawn. After going back, it would have fit, but in a more appropriate way, we've decided to change the fireplace from it angling on both sides, coming in to a narrower chimney, to only angling it in on one side, thus giving us a lot more space to move this window from the right side of the fireplace to the left side of the fireplace. And lastly, the box bay window. So previously on the back side of the office space, there was a French door. Let me see if I can get to that one for you. Here we go here. So previously on the back side, whether it was a French door or a double window, I can't remember which one was approved in the previous one. But we are proposing, instead of a French door or just a double window unit, for a box bay window, just a little decoration there on the back side of the house, and giving the client a sitting area in the office space as an extra, added feature to the home. And I think that might be it. So I'll open it up to you guys for any questions or comments, and happy to answer them for you.
Thank you. Bart, do you have any questions?
No, Adam.
Thank you. Rosina? Oh, Rosina's recused, excuse me. Darren?
No questions for me.
George?
Thank you for the presentation, and no questions.
Thank you. Jim Bohan?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Jen Accomando? Audio. I do not have any questions. Receive any letters in favor of this application, and I did not receive any letters opposing this application. So the hearing's closed. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you,
May
everyone.
I, as a neighbor, can I ask questions?
As a neighbor, I think you have to remain recused, Rosina.
I recuse myself as a commissioner.
Yes. You're on the commission. And you're a neighbor. I think it's a little bit of a conflict of interest if you're to make a comment.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank
And the
you.
hearing's closed. The next item on the agenda is Gerald and Gabrielle Berto, 494 Harbor Road in Southport, for property located at 494 Harbor Road in Southport. For A, relocate fence to property line. B, remove existing river rock paving band. C, new bluestone curb with flex paved banding and new asphalt apron. D, new entry gate, 2 single gates, and fence to match pre-existing fence and gates. E, new fieldstone walls with gate. F, new pea-stone bed. G, new bluestone curbs and steps. And H, replace broken stones. Someone here to represent Berto's.
Yes, hi. Can everybody hear me? Okay, great.
Yes. Hi.
My name is Jackie Howard. I'm a landscape designer with Brooke Clark Landscape Architects, representing Gerald and Gabrielle Berto at 494 Harvard Road. And I am going to share my screen. Let's see here. Okay, can everybody see my screen now? Okay.
Yes.
So let's see here. Let's scroll down to. All right. So the first item here was to realign the fence on the corner of Rose Hill. Right now, the fence is on the inside of the property, and we're pushing it out to run right along the property line. So that way we can continue this. This is an existing hedge right here, and we'd be continuing the hedge to create more privacy for the house. Next item. So originally, a couple of years ago, actually, there was a fence and a gate, or a fence and a gate, both pedestrian and vehicle. And a previous designer had removed it, and now a few years later, and it was approved by the historic board. So now we are adding it back in exactly as it was. The owner has privacy concerns, so that's why we want to add it back in, and I can show you. What's pretty cool is on the Google Street View, the existing gate, the vehicular gate and the person gate is still there. So these are what was there, and we will be proposing to put exactly back in the exact same space, same style of what was existing. Going back, also within that area, there is a an existing River Rock apron that we would be removing, and we are now replacing this entire area with a flexi pave, which is gravel with a binder that makes it stay in place. And we would be adding a flush bluestone, antique bluestone curb around the edge there, so this is what the flexi pave looks like. And then the bluestone curb would look something like this, except flush with the ground, so you could drive over it. And then right now there is an existing, it's just gravel. It's actually draining into the road. You can see it goes all the way down Rose Hill and stops around here. So we're adding an asphalt apron to again hold in. Well, what is it? This will be the antique bluestone curb will hold it in, but the asphalt curb will really stop anything from washing away. Next, let's see here. We're proposing a veggie garden or a cutting garden back behind the garage here, which I can show you a picture. This is what it looks like now. It's just an open lawn space. And we're doing bunny high walls, so between 2 to 3 foot tall fieldstone walls, which we would match all the existing stone walls. This is a picture of the existing stone wall, so we're just matching exactly how what it looks like now. And within the garden, we have planting along the edge of the walls, and then within it there's pea stone, which is not the flexi pave. This is just simple gravel with a metal edge to contain the gravel. The last item is up. This is on the, I guess you could call it the northeast side of the property. Right now it is just a lawn panel with some planting around it. So we will be adding a bluestone curb similar to the one we're adding down here, except this will be raised about 4 inches. We'll be adding planting all around here. And because this is raised, it's just sloping right now. So we'll be adding antique bluestone lawn steps on this side to get down to this existing walkway. And then we'd be adding it's about an 18-inch wall here to make this a flat area. And then we'd be adding about 3 antique bluestone steps up to this area. I believe that is all we're doing. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Art, questions?
No, thanks, Adam.
Rosina, questions? Rosina? Okay, no questions?
She's muted.
Darren, questions?
I think she's having trouble
Yeah,
unmuting.
she's shaking her head.
No questions for me, thanks.
Thank you. George, questions?
No questions. Thank you.
All right. Jim Bohan, questions?
No questions. Thank you very much.
Okay. Jim Accomando, questions?
I'm gonna start.
I will. I can.
Okay, Jim is still muted, unfortunately. And I do not have any questions either. Did not receive any letters in favor of this application, and Annette did not receive any letters opposing the application, so the hearing is closed. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is Barbara and John Turretson, 89 Westway Road in Southport, for property located at 89 Westway Road in Southport, to A, deconstruct and rebuild 2 painted chimneys with 2 red brick chimneys. B, remove chimney. And C, replace broken bricks and add new bricks at garage entry.
Thank you. This is John Turretson. My wife Barbara is next to me. We are not represented by a landscape designer or an architect, so this may be a somewhat amateurish presentation, of which I apologize. And I don't know how to screen share,
Oh,
so
that's
I'm
okay.
hoping that we can get
Yeah.
assistance with screen sharing off of our application, if that's possible. But we have
Yeah.
3 chimneys on our house. Our house is located at the corner of Westway Road and Willow Street. There are 3 chimneys on the house. If you can, it's possible to move to the next page. It shows a photograph. Should show a photograph of the house. There it is. There are
You
there are
see
3
it?
chim-
You see it?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you. There are 3 chimneys on the house right now. The one in the foreground, closest to Westway Road, is leaking very badly. And we need to repair it. It's between us on the screen right now. The chimney is showing the water stains on the chimney, and every heavy rain drips on the floor. So we are tearing that chimney down now to rebuild it in exactly the same configuration as it is. And the second chimney farther from Westway Road,
In the middle.
we're also tearing down to rebuild it because we want them to look the same. We're not going to repaint them white. We're going to leave them. We're going to convert them into red brick, which is the historic look of the chimneys from photographs we filed in the next pages
From
from
1906.
1906 and 1912, I believe. You can go down to page 5,
1906.
page 5 and 6 shows.
Well, 5 is 1906 and 6 is
It
1913.
shows the chimneys in red brick in those old photographs from more than 100 years ago.
So we're just trying to show that historically, and of course, back then, not only our house, but they did not paint chimneys. Brick was red and that was that. And we know you know that, but we just wanted to show you that back in the day, in 1906, certainly 1913, over 100 years ago, the house did have red brick chimneys. The paint is peeling, it's ugly, and as long as we're rebuilding a leaking one, we'd prefer to just keep it red brick, the way it was when the house was built.
The third chimney farthest from Westway Road doesn't connect to anything. It's a non-functional dead chimney. And our proposal is to simply remove that chimney. It's on page there. It's that third chimney in the back.
But page
We
2
don't-
is a
it's
better
right.
view.
It's right. We want to just remove it and just eliminate it because we've learned that chimneys can be vulnerabilities from our experience with leaking. And we see no reason to rebuild it. As you can see from the old photographs from 1906 and 1912, the number of chimneys on the house has varied. At those times, there were 4 chimneys instead of the current 3. And our proposal is to just reduce it down to 2, which are the chimneys that have a purpose today. So that's what we want to do to our chimneys. The other thing we want to do is one farther back in the pages, there's a picture. If you go back another page, I'm sorry. There you go. There. We have a driveway.
7, 8.
We have a driveway that has tracks, brick tracks leading into the garage, which works well if you only park one car in the garage, but we have 2 cars. So every time you park the second car in the garage, the rear wheels drag over the grass median strip and just convert it into mud and tire tracks. So our proposal is to brick over the entire median strip, make it a continuous brick driveway of the same dimensions.
Well, it's not the driveway, it's the entrance
The
to the
entrance.
garage.
The entrance and in the same style of brick. We're matching bricks. This is a homemade rendering of the
Yeah.
way it would look. It's
I
the
did
same,
my best.
the same dimensions as the current sloping drive up to the garage, but filling in the middle with bricks, which would be continuous across. It would not have that discontinuous look.
Mhm.
We would redo the entire slope or drive
Yeah.
in old looking brick.
We're not just adding the middle, we're redoing the two sides that are there already, and of course, the middle. The two sides that are there already, the bricks are chipping, they're cracking, we're missing some. So what we thought would be wiser and certainly more appealing and certainly nicer looking from Willow Street, where you can't see it, we sought out older looking bricks. They're more money. And we went with a redder brick, which is hard to find, than an orange brick. We had our mason, I don't know how many times he brought us some bricks, and I kept saying, nope, that's not what I'm looking for. I want to match what I have. I just want newer, because they're new, but they look old. So that's what we want to do there, because we can't get both cars into the garage. It's a very big garage, but the door is not that wide. So it's John's car keeps running over the lawn, the middle section of the lawn, and making mud.
That's our submission.
That's our submission. 2 brick chimneys that are not painted.
Okay.
Abandoning one for good, felt and plywood, felt and shingles. It goes to nothing. Below that chimney is our son's bed, and our bed below that, and then our kitchen cabinets. So it doesn't go to any fireplaces anymore.
Okay. Thank you. Art, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Rosina, questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Darren, questions?
No questions for me, thanks.
And George?
No questions. Thank you, John.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
And Jim Bohan?
Sorry.
No questions, Adam. Thank you.
Okay, and Jim Mondo?
We'll try this one. No questions.
Oh, it worked.
Cool.
Thank
It
you.
worked finally. Thanks.
Okay, good job. And I don't have any questions. I do want to make sure that the brick that you're putting in front of you mentioned it's just matching the existing.
Well, it's
Right.
matching in
Are
front
you
of the garage.
replacing it?
Yes.
In front of the garage.
Yeah,
It's
you're
all
replacing it
coming
all?
out. It's all coming out, but what we're gonna put in
Are you-
instead will
are-
look identical.
We've
Will
tried.
you reuse any of the existing brick?
Our mason says that once he removes, it's just gonna break into pieces. It's just been there too long. It's got 4,000 pounds of steel going over it twice a day. It's just bit the dust.
But we've tested out, I don't know, 8 or 10 samples of bricks to find the brick that matches as closely as possible the current.
To the
brick.
current brick.
Okay.
It's just going to be newer and
Okay.
not damaged.
So we may just stipulate that the brick matches the existing, you
Fine.
know, in the.
That's fine. They will.
No
if it's
problem.
approved.
We wanted to also.
Okay.
Thank
Excellent.
you.
I did not receive any letters in favor of your application, did not receive any letters opposing your application. So the hearing's closed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And last item on the agenda is Jacqueline and John McFadden, 249 Beach Road, for property located at 249 Beach Road in Fairfield for A, new gates, and B, new paving. You're muted. There's a button on the bottom left-hand side that says mute. You probably have to unmute yourself. You can try going to that mute button and it'll say switch audio and maybe switch to computer audio or.
Chair, I know the applicant, Chris Russo. Jacqueline, if you want to, you could call the phone number and dial in and call from your phone. The number's on the agenda, 510-338-9438. If you call that and then type in the access code, I think you should be able to speak.
Yeah, the problem is she's
Hello,
muted.
can you hear me now?
She's,
Oh,
Yes.
sorry about that. I'm on my husband's computer. I apologize. We just got to Florida today with the
No
family for
problem.
spring break, and I don't know. He said the audio has been funky in the past. So anyway, thank you. So this is my first time on the Fairfield HDC Zoom here. I think my husband did the last one for a good bit of work that we did when we moved into the house. So we had, done a lot of exterior work as well as including the screened-in porch. And so what we're looking for with this submission is starting with a fence. So we have 3 young kids. We have 3 children under 4. And as it sort of currently stands, if I could actually, am I able to share my screen here?
yes, please share your
Okay.
application.
Okay. I just press share here and
Yes, and then then you have to navigate to, you should have the drawing open before you share.
okay. Got it. Oh man. All right. Sorry. I don't know.
I can do it for you.
But okay. Are you able to see that?
You see that?
Okay. So starting with the fence submission, basically we're looking to add a fence here between this enclosed area and the cottage and the barn. As it stands, it's completely open. I was mentioning we have the 3 kids under 4. And so we're looking to essentially fence off our backyard so that there's a safe area for the kids to play. Here's a second picture. So, we're looking for a gate, and then a fence here that would be,
I
really
think
hidden by a green screen.
You're not sharing your screen yet. I mean, I was sharing my screen.
Oh, gosh. Okay. I don't even know how this is working.
So do you have the PDF open on your computer?
Yep, I do.
Yeah, so if you
It's
click
a
share,
PowerPoint,
then on
actually.
the right-hand side, oh, it's PowerPoint. Well, it should still be the same. If you click on share, and then to the right is where you have your open documents, and just locate it and click on it.
Maybe I'll just do it without this. Hold on. Sorry for these technical difficulties. My gosh.
Well, I can share it, but you just have to tell me where to go.
Okay. I'm just trying to share this PowerPoint. I'm sorry, this is just, I do not use this kind of computer, and it is. Okay, I'll just do it without. But basically, you probably all know our home, and so there is.
Okay, wait, okay,
the street
Jacqueline, can
corner.
you see my screen?
Yes.
Can you see my screen? Can you
Yes.
see what I'm showing? Okay, you just tell me where you want to go.
So, yeah. Sorry, I honestly, I do not know how to share this PowerPoint. I could send it to you after, but, let's see. So we're looking to add a similar gate that we have in the front, and then have a wire mesh hidden fence, and so we're looking to sort of green screen it with ilex and hornbeam trees. We've seen a really nice example of this actually on Harbor Road. That was sort of our idea for sectioning off this area so that we can basically have, you know, a safe place for the kids to hide and play back there, because we have tenants in the cottage. And so, you know, they're driving in, you know, we do have a gate at the end of the driveway, but obviously it's manual. And then, you know, having the tenants, one of our tenants has an extremely large pickup truck because he runs Monger's Market, the antique thing in Bridgeport. And so, yeah, so we're basically looking to section that area off and then just have a small side fence so that the entire back area would be fenced off, if that makes sense. We've worked with our landscape architect there to sort of hone in on that green screen. And then again, the wood gates would match the gates at the front of the property. Yes, our neighbor to the left of us actually has a pretty similar side fence that matches her front, that sort of sections off the back of her home there. Do you have any questions about that?
No, just you can finish your presentation, then we'll go around.
Okay. Sure. The second issue that we're looking at is paving a portion of the driveway that is closest to the barn and the cottage. So this is about 70 feet from the start of the driveway to the back of the property. The reason that this sort of came about for us was also sort of a safety issue. Whenever it snows or we have any type of wintry mix, with the white shells, it reflects the light. It really does not melt well. And so even when we have the area plowed, it creates like a thick, 6-inch sheet of ice. And so, we have our tenants in the cottage, and we, even with salting, plowing, we were not able to get that sort of like sheet of ice to go away this winter with any type of wintry mix. So we're essentially looking to just pave that back part and then also incorporate some landscaping with like a little green screen to block our trash cans and the worker truck that's in the back. And again, this is 70 feet from the property line. So that transition, would be a little bit, farther from the public view. We obviously love the look of the shells. We want to sort of maintain that look. I know just from walking around the neighborhood, people say, oh, you're the house with the white seashells. And so we want to maintain that look. We really like it, but we also want to have the functionality of having somewhere to park that can actually be plowed and a place for the kids to be able to play, you know, like on their scooters and on their bikes, because the shells are just tricky to walk over and, you know, ride any type of kid vehicle over. I think we're also one of the few homes in the historic area where we are that doesn't have any type of paving currently. And then the third issue is enlarging the patio that we currently have. It's existing, it's probably about 25 years old. It's on grade. There's no visible, you know, view from the public right of way. So we're just looking to update that with also a blue slate patio to make it a little more in line with, you know, what's around the rest of the house and, you know, part of, you know, with the blue slate, just updating it to fit in more with the era of the home. We, you know, as I mentioned, as I first signed on, you know, we really love this neighborhood. We take great pride in trying to update this home and make it work for our growing family. We, you know, are friendly with all of our neighbors. We've gotten support letters from all of our contiguous neighbors. Our one neighbor is a snowbird, and we did speak with her about it. We don't have a letter from her. But everyone seems to support, you know, the work that we're doing. And, you know, we try to do things tastefully, obviously in accordance with, you know, the history of the home and the era. And these are just some exterior things that would sort of make the home a little bit more feasible for us at this sort of stage, while still, you know, looking beautiful and being functional. And I think that is it from my side.
Okay, thank you. Art, do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Rosina, questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Darren, questions?
None from me, thanks.
George, questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jim Bohan, questions?
No questions, thank you.
And Jim Commando, questions?
No questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And I do not have any questions. Did not receive any letters in favor of your application.
We did,
against the application,
Adam.
so the hearing's closed. Oh, sorry. Geez.
No, Adam, we have three letters in
I
favor.
received letters in favor of this application. Excuse me?
We have 3 letters in favor.
Yes, we do. Sorry. I jumped ahead of myself.
Do you want me to
Would
read
you
them?
like to read them?
That's fine.
Please.
Jackie, can you just
There's a lot
mute
of
your
echo
phone? I
going
hear
on. I think
feedback.
that's just confusing me.
Sure.
Thank you. Dear Historic District Commission, we have been the current tenants of the back cottage of 249 Beach Road for over 2 years. Please know we have carefully reviewed the plans and proposed changes at 249 Beach Road submitted to the Historical District Commission by Ryan and Jackie McFadden. We fully support the work proposed. We believe the changes are thoughtful, practical, and tasteful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to either of us warmly, Cheryl and John Hayden. Good morning. Our neighbors, John and Jackie McFadden, will have a hearing this afternoon regarding some proposed changes to their home. As neighbors who live at 205 Beach, just one home away, we want to enthusiastically support their proposed changes. We have reviewed their plan and think each element of their request to the district should be approved. The McFadden's have brought 3 young children to the neighborhood, and so it is reasonable and responsible to make sure the house is safe for those children. The fence will keep them in a safe area in the backyard, and the portion of the paved driveway will make it easier to get in and out of their cars and garage in the winter while keeping the appearance of the shell driveway near Beach Road. And no one can object to a patio in the rear of the house since it's not visible from any street. Houses such as 205 and 249 Beach require much work and care. The McFadden's have respected the history of their home, have cared for it, and will continue to do so for decades. We urge the commission to support their request. Please feel free to contact me. I won't read his phone number out, or by email if you have questions. Thank you for your service, Andy and Liz Montelli. And the last one, to whom it may concern on the Historic District Commission. We, Matt and Kathy Wyant, reside at 289 Beach Road, adjacent to the property at 249 Beach Road, where we have lived for 24 years. We have seen the plans for 249 Beach Road, partial pavement of driveway, replacement and enlargement of patio, replacement of fence with like materials. We support the project which John Ryan McFadden and Jackie Carlton are proposing. They are doing a great job maintaining and improving the property. Thank you, Matthew Wyant.
I think that there was just
Thank you,
one
Darren.
other letter. I don't know if it came through from David Kent and Rachel Kent at 543 Old Coast.
Sorry, I did not receive that.
Oh, okay. To HDC at fairfieldgc.org.
Yeah, it's email, but I didn't.
Okay.
Uh,
They forwarded it from last night, but I can forward it if that's helpful.
hang on. Let's see if I can get it. Who's it from? Oh, Kent.
David Kent, K-E-N-T. At
Okay, I did.
543
I'm gonna make- I do have a letter from them. To whom it may concern, David Kent and Rachel Kent, owners of 543 Old Post Road, have reviewed the plan with Ryan and Jackie, owners of 249 Beach, regarding the proposed fence and gating area. We share a property line with 249 Beach and support this plan. Please make no questions. David Kent. And those are all the letters. Thank you for pointing that out. And I did not receive any letters opposing the application. So the hearing is closed. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry for
Okay,
the
on
technical
to,
difficulties.
no problem. Next, consideration of public hearing, items 1 to 5. First item to consider is 153 Harbor Road in Southport for property located at 163 Harbor Road in Southport for A, lift existing house 5 feet, B, alterations and additions to existing house, C, decks, D, fences and enclosures, D, walks and patios, F, change driveway, G, AC equipment, H, generator, I, exterior lighting, J, vegetative screening, K, raised topo seawall 1 foot, and L, flood vents and mechanical vents. Can I get a motion, please?
Adam, Art to approve items A through L as presented.
Second?
Adam, I'll
Can we get
second.
a second for
I'll
discussion
second for
purposes?
discussion purposes.
George seconds. Discussion.
Okay. Are we talking about 163 Harbor Road?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you're not talking about though, because the I think we have all commissioners voting. Alternates not voting on this application.
Can I speak as a resident of Fairfield, of Southport?
No,
Okay.
no, you can't because it's a closed session. It's not a public. Sorry, Jim.
So one of the things in the letters asked for site sticks to be put on this house.
Yep.
And I believe they're aside from the decks in the back, and I think the enclosure for the generators in the back, I think it's on the current footprint, right? It's not changed.
Yes.
The footprint's not changed, so the site sticks won't show us anything different.
No,
Okay.
no, the site sticks, they're talking about poles to show the height.
Oh, I see.
In the
Okay,
past,
I read
we've
that wrong.
had- So literally, at the ridge line, there would be a pole
I understand.
going all the way up to show where the ridge would be, and maybe
I see what
two
you're
poles
saying.
where the eaves would be.
I was thinking site sticks when I read poles.
So
So it's been a long day. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah,
We got that.
Thanks, George.
so yeah, I mean, I think massing is still an issue. Jack did bring up an interesting point for variations permissible when in section 7-147D, where the topographical conditions or locations because of either unusual circumstances or strict application of any provision. Sorry, he went through that. I think that's a relevant to this property. If this were a ZBA approval, like a submission for variance, you know, if you're on a corner lot, you could get a variance because of setbacks, because the setback on a corner lot is reduced, and it's considered a hardship. You know, here we have a property. I think that you can make an argument that has a lot of hardships, and it's difficult to work with, and I think we should keep that in mind.
Not only that, Jack said they're keeping the original print, same massing on the north end of the house, except for the dormer. You know, they're keeping the central cape position. So I think they've met that burden.
Yeah. I mean, there is an argument to be said about putting an addition onto an existing house and not having it overpowering the existing house, but I think that's really more directed towards true antiques, like, 17th century, 18th, 16th century, these old classic homes with specific styles that we really want to maintain. This particular. Sorry.
No, sorry. I thought you were done. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't know that I necessarily agree with you. I think in this particular case that the home is being so incredibly overhauled that there's not much left where you see the original home. So, I mean, in how I look at this, it's a completely different house.
That's a good
But it's
point,
not a-
but
it's not a
my
specific,
response to that would be, what was the original house that historically significant?
I would argue yes, because it is very significant to a particular development of time that's aligned with a lot of social changes in American culture. So that's how I would look at that mid-century modern development.
Well, appropriate to time, but what about location? Arguably, it's not a de facto coastal home.
No, but I don't know that that's an argument that I would put a lot of credence on. You get a lot of homes that aren't what you'd consider, de facto for places all over the place. I mean, if it was a Lustron home, I would still argue that it's significant in a way, even though that's not a de facto coastal home either.
it appears to me that part of what's driving the house and the mass is what they're trying to create in internal space and not in a stylistic design. And that's, I guess, what I'm struggling with. Are we driving to create an internal space that's X big for the functionality of the house? And is that driving the ultimate design? And is that, you know, does it have to be that big? I don't know. That's, the mass does bother me.
And the argument there is that we have no purview on the interior space, so it's immaterial what they're doing in there.
Well, yeah, but it could be what's driving them to make it.
I understand that, but you know, to some degree, it doesn't matter what's on the inside. We have to look at the exterior, and if that is a driving factor, I agree that the massing is still large.
Right, that's my point.
What did he say the interior ceiling height was? They reduced it from 8.6 to less than 8.5 now?
I think he said it is less than 8.6.
Less than 8.6.
It's 810 floor to floor. So whatever the structure is, it's probably like a 9-inch, 9.25, 9.5-inch floor joist. So it's probably like 8.1 or 8.2, or I don't know, depends on how deep they can make the floor joists. I mean, they could go to probably thinner LVLs or something, and get more head height. But back to the style of the existing house, I mean, I think it's a struggle to come up with what to call that house. You know? Neo-colonial? I mean...
You mean the existing house or what's proposed, Adam?
The existing house.
Yeah, that was my point. I mean,
it looks more like a cape to me, but obviously it doesn't have some cape features that just, you know, that identify like a true cape. But it's a singles, like, it looks like a cape, but it's called neo-colonial because it has some colonial detailing, I guess. Or
that's the point I was trying to make. I mean, one of the commissioners said it was, you know, was appropriate to a point in time mid-century. What does that have to do with a
I
New
didn't say it
England
was
coastal
appropriate
village?
to a time mid-century. I said it is significant as a point in time, as being indicative of a social change. I didn't say that it was appropriate.
Yeah, but
well, if it's either
but I mean,
appropriate or not, what does a mid-social change have to do with a New England coastal village?
It drives how things were built at a period in time.
Yes, and I think that's important. And then there's definitely a lot of different styles around the village and the town that represent different periods in time. Ones of wealth and ones of less wealth, et cetera. This particular house, you could go around. I don't think you could find another one like it. I mean, it's very unique, right? I mean, it's not a style that was widely accepted and built all over the place, like you know, a Victorian style house or, you know, whatever, Gothic revival. There's so many different types of homes that you can walk around and point out the Greek revivals here and the colonials here. This one, you look at it and you're like, I'm not sure what it is. Let's call it neo-colonial.
My point in all of this,
the significance of the house is like, it's to make the argument that the addition needs to be diminutive to the existing house that doesn't overwhelm it, I think is sort of a tough argument to make, considering the house itself, the original house, isn't significant to begin with. It's not worth, you know, trying to save the existing architectural style because it's hard to find out what it is to begin with.
but that's not what I was saying. It's immaterial what the house is at the current moment and what it will become to a certain extent. My point was that the house that's being proposed, you know, the argument that the addition should be subservient to the original house is kind of a moot point because there's no part of that original house that looks like it's surviving unscathed. So in my view, this is a brand new structure. That's what my point was, not to argue whether the relevance of the current structure or not.
I agree with Darren. This is almost in a way, let's call it a demolition, keeping the footprint of the house intact, but everything else, it's changed. It's still massive, especially on this side of the east side of the road, I think it is, what we're calling. Other parts, they did kind of follow what we had suggested, chimney and all those other details, but in a way, it is almost as a new proposed build rather than keeping the property and expanding onto the property.
And is that bad? I mean, is that necessarily a bad thing? I mean, or are you trying to say that the existing house is worth preserving?
No, I
your-
think the
in your
point that we're saying is that some
point
of
of
the
view.
arguments that are being presented and Rosina, this is my point, and if you don't agree, I'm not saying this is what you were saying either. My point is that some of the discussions that are coming out in the letters that are being submitted about the massing on the right side of the house as opposed to the left, and how the right side is a massive addition relative to the original part of the house. There's really no original house left. You're raising the thing, you're dormering it out, you're changing where the door is, you're taking away that, you're just changing the entire structure. So when you look at this new structure, you'd be hard pressed to say, I see that remnant of the original house there. So to my mind, some of the arguments that are being presented by the neighbors are kind of moot, not because they're wrong necessarily, that's totally their perception, but to me, I don't see much of that original house left. So to me, I'm really looking at a new structure in a lot of ways. I mean, more than 50% of that structure is being demolished and altered, and in many other towns, that's part of their demo ordinance, right? We don't have that in Fairfield, but that's how my mind is kind of structured to look at this.
Agree.
I agree. It's basically a new build. That's
Yeah.
trying to maintain some aspects of the old house, but you're not going to drive by and say, oh, that was looks whatever. It complements the old house in any way. No. I don't think.
And
If that's the case, then I think what I'd love to hear is if we come to a consensus, given what Rosina and Darren say, that for the benefit of the applicant, because, they've been here a bunch of times, do we want to see another cape or remnants of a cape? I think, if it's not going to get approved today, we should come to a consensus. So, they're not coming here a dozen times. What do we think about that?
My personal feeling is that, putting aside the house, there were elements of this application that we could approve if everybody's in agreement. I have no problem with raising the top of the seawall. I don't have a problem with the change in the driveway or the location of the generators. I don't even have a problem with the exterior lighting or really lifting the house necessarily. And I don't overly much have an issue with the general look of the house. I do still feel that it is a little bit massive, but it's come leaps and bounds from where it has been originally. So that's my personal feeling. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, that's helpful.
Yeah, and I
I mean,
agree
the
with
other
that
thing to
as
consider
well,
is
so.
the other thing to consider is that the other homes around are all much bigger than this house. Next door neighbors, much bigger. All the houses down on both sides, everyone is much larger than this house, and the only reason they don't want that one little section to go up is because it's gonna change their view and that view that they all cherish, which I get, but I mean, I think at some point you have to allow this home to compete with the other homes. And
Adam, just a quick question from an architectural standpoint. I live in a house where my ceilings are 7 feet tall, so I have a very skewed skewed view of what's normal.
Yeah.
When you're designing like just a run of the mill home, typical, what's average ceiling height?
8 feet.
8 feet?
8 feet
So
is
we're
kind of the
looking at-
minimum. 8
yeah.
feet will be, I think,
The minimum?
is like the minimum, like what, yeah, and usually you go higher, you know, for grander, you go higher. So 8 feet is sort
So-
of like really minimum, but it's plenty high, I think, but you could go lower.
Yeah. I mean,
Especially in a historic district, and I've been trying to say that the whole time, but still,
Yeah.
you're talking inches, and at the end of the day, you know, 6 more inches is not going to make a difference.
no, 8
when you
inches.
look at the
I
house.
was just curious because as I said, I can touch my
Yeah.
ceiling standing up. So
Yeah, if you did that on 2 floors, Adam, it'd be a foot, but yeah, I agree. Right?
Yeah.
So,
And even a foot, I don't think would make much of a difference, but
no, I don't think so either.
I agree.
and another thing that Jack pointed out, which has a lot of relevance, is that the next door neighbor's house is a lot further forward, you know, closer to the road than this house. So the fact that they're so offset really does change your perspective on the height and the scale. So even though these houses are going to be the same height, this one's going to seem lower because it's further towards the water, further away from the street, which helps it, I think. Okay, so anyway, if there's not any more discussion, should probably take a vote.
Can you repeat the motion, please?
The motion is to approve as presented.
Right.
Just
Well,
approve as submitted.
yes.
Okay.
All right, all in favor? All opposed?
Mm.
And the motion passes 3-1. Jim, I'm sorry, you're not voting on the application? Jim Accomando? You don't,
I did.
as an alternate, you don't vote. I
Oh,
know you don't,
got it.
you don't vote
Okay.
on the, and you don't, sorry, I know it's your first meeting, so, but if there are 5 commissioners, then the alternates don't vote. If there's, if there are 4 commissioners, then the alternate commissioners alternate. In this case, we had 5 commissioners, and you're not allowed to comment in the closed session if you're not voting on the application. But if you are voting, you can comment. And you're allowed to, of course, comment during the public hearing. Okay? Next item on the agenda, David and Tina Montani, 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield, for property located at 920 Old Post Road in Fairfield. For A, new fence, B, revised rear roof line at mudrooms master, C, revisions to various windows, D, box bay window and first floor office, and E, revision to chimney. Rosina's recusing herself. And Jim Bohan, you are voting on this application. Can we get a motion, please?
Okay, thank you.
I'd make a motion to approve it submitted.
And I'll
Thank you,
second that.
George. Second?
I'll second that.
Jim Bohan, seconds. Thank you. Discussion?
So I have a couple of questions / comments. So the new fence, that 6-foot fence is going to run all the way to the sidewalk, right? It's not going to stop at the fence that was approved for, 952 next door from last time?
I'm not sure. Let me pull it up.
It looks like it's going to run to the sidewalk, but I just, it's just a 6-foot fence running to the sidewalk.
Right.
I
think that's correct.
Yes, I think, yeah.
Okay.
No, it stops here, it looks like. I think that's.
It looks
that's
like
one.
it stops short, but I don't know where that is relative.
looks like there's another fence that goes to the property
Yeah,
to the
front,
left.
the one on 952 runs somewhere across. So I think this 6-foot
Yeah.
fence
And it
runs
looks like it
past
stops right
that.
there. It looks like it stops at it. Terminates at the
what's-
same
what
point that
stops
the other
there?
one comes across.
Yeah. Okay. So it runs past the other fence that's perpendicular to it. Okay. The only
Oh.
other,
No,
Sorry?
the fence is this black line here.
oh, it's okay.
And
And
they-
it's, so
they-
it stops.
It stops at the same corner.
Okay, perfect. The only other thing that little hanging nook on the side, I don't really know
Yeah.
what to call it. I understand that it was a mistake on Brian's part. Are we sure that that can't be extended down with clearance to the driveway?
He's saying it can't, because there's a driveway clearance issue. I don't mind the bracket though. I mean, there's
So.
plenty of like Garrison Colonial type details that use that.
So some of these proposed changes, so the issue I had with the initial drawings of this house, and I said it a couple of times when we went to site visits and in recorded sessions, is that it felt very much like a mash of different styles of architecture that were in general seen throughout the neighborhood, but also some that weren't. And with some of these proposed changes, it again feels like we're stepping back into that hodgepodge of different architectural styles that I'm not sure are totally appropriate. And that being one of them.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm not sure. You know, given what you just said, it is sort of a combination of different styles that this detail isn't appropriate. I mean,
I don't think that there are a bunch of architectural
Yeah.
styles that work cohesively to create a whole that is appropriate to the neighborhood. Let me rephrase that. So I wish there was a way that
so you're
could be
saying
extended down.
Yeah. I'm sure they would like to do that if they could, because it would look nicer.
Yeah,
Well-
the bracket just,
I don't know if it would look nicer, it's just bad, but
that side of the house just looks much busier to me with the change in the roof line that was approved last time. That bracket, the windows that are different from all the others. We have 4 pane as opposed to 6/6. It just looks very busy to me. I understand the reasons for those changes as explained. I just think it looks busy.
yeah. I mean, I would agree, but I think that, you know, at this point, we're kind of splitting hairs as to whether it's that specific detail is appropriate or inappropriate for the house. Concerning there's not many options.
It's just my opinion on the appropriateness. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Any other discussion? No? Okay, well, let's take a vote on it. All in favor with the motion to approve as presented? All opposed? One opposed, motion passes 4-1. Next item on the agenda is Gerald and Gabrielle Burdo, 494 Harbor Road in Southport for property located at 494 Harbor Road in Southport. 2A, relocate fence to property line. B, remove existing river rock paving band. C, new bluestone curb with flex pave banding and new asphalt apron. D, new entry gate, use single gates and fence to match pre-existing fence and gates. E, new fieldstone walls with gate. F, new pea-stone bed. G, new bluestone curbs and steps. And H, replace broken stones. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
I'll second.
Thank you, Darren. Is that Rosina second?
Am I
I'll
voting on,
second.
Rosina seconds. Discussion?
am I voting on this one, Adam?
No, you're not, Jim.
Okay.
I think all the proposed changes are appropriate. I think that they seem to be carefully thought out and with a nod to enhancing the house itself. And I think, I mean, they took out the same exact gates, which were appropriate before, and they're just putting them back. So I really don't have much of a problem with that. And the landscaping, I think, is reasonable to change the fence to the property line. I think it'll look really nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right, we'll vote then. All in favor? All opposed? None opposed? No abstentions? Motion passes. Next item is Barbara and John Turtson, 89 Westbury Road in Southport for property located at 89 Westbury Road in Southport for A, deconstruct and rebuild 2 painted chimneys with 2 red brick chimneys. B, remove chimney. C, replace broken bricks and add new bricks at garage entry. Can I get a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
I'll second that one too.
Darren makes a motion to approve as submitted. Rosina seconds. Discussion?
Darren, do you stipulation about matching the bricks?
Well,
Didn't you mention that?
I did.
Yeah.
But
Good point.
not my motion, so
But they're gonna
I think it
remove,
covers us a little bit just to have them
I mean, they're removing all of
moving the
them.
existing and yes, and replacing them because they're old and some of them, I guess, are cracked.
Yeah,
Okay, that's fine
So
with
they're
me.
going to be new bricks. But
They're-
they,
yeah,
but
they're
they,
gonna be new,
the
but look
intention
old.
is the intention is to match the existing brick, but that's their intention.
Right.
Okay with me.
It's up to you. You don't have to.
I personally don't think it's necessary, but if everybody else feels strongly about it, I'll amend the motion.
No.
Oh, leave it as
Up to
is.
you.
I mean, I think,
All right. All in
rebuilding.
favor?
Oh, okay.
All opposed? None opposed? Motion passes. Jacqueline and John McFadden, 249 Beach Road in Fairfield for property located at 249 Beach Road in Fairfield for A, new gates and B, new paving.
I'll make a
I'll
motion
make the
Can I get a
to
motion, please?
approve as submitted.
I'll second then.
Darren makes a motion and Rosina seconds. Discussion? All right, no discussion. All in favor? All opposed? Not opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next on the agenda is to approve the minutes from March 14th. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve as submitted.
And I'll second it.
Brad makes a motion, Jim Bohan seconds. All in favor? Motion passes and opposed. And then the chairman's report, we have repairs, 17 Rose Hill, replace wood roofing kind. And 95-101 Harbor Road, replace bay window in kind, replace wood shingle roofing kind. I have no violations. No old business. There's one new piece of business that was brought up. It's a resident was asking about how to get, state national register of historic plaques. And I directed her towards the SHPO website to do that. But then the question arose as to, where can you put them, and do they need to get approval to be put on the house? No, they don't need approval to be put on the house. I mean, I would think they do since there's signage.
Right.
No.
No, they're
I'm sure they
temporary.
could put them anywhere.
things.
I mean, Darren's shaking her head. That's why I'm questioning. Sorry. In your experience?
In my experience, they've never needed approval. That might be a question for the town attorney and his reading of, or her reading of the state statute. But in my mind, they're temporary things. They're not significant changes.
Well,
But I would defer to
Sure.
town attorney on that.
but there's
Nobody's
signage,
ever
but it's
asked me.
signage, and we do have a thing on signage.
But I
Um,
mean, then how, I mean, do we regulate house numbers?
But is it really temporary? There, I mean, it's.
I
you
mean,
put-
I think of it as temporary.
Well,
I mean,
here's
I have one in my house and I've seen them. I mean, here's the problem is that they're in every place that I've seen these things, they haven't been regulated because there's numerous different plaques. There's the plaques from the SHPO on State and National Register. There's plaques for some properties that have been put on a historic resource inventory. Then you have the plaques from the historical societies in the towns that do historic plaquing. And all of those are kind of seen as like vanity things to increase the understanding of this place as being historic. I've never been in a position where I've seen any other HDC regulate those things for that particular type of signage. That's why I'm saying we might want to ask the town attorney on what his or her reading is, because I've never seen anybody regulate those before. Even my son.
Yeah, I mean, I
I could hear that.
Obviously, I don't think we would ever deny someone, a historic plaque that's been issued by, State Historic Preservation Office. It's just a
I feel
question
like
of
that would
where
be
on the
against
house
our
it
munch.
goes. It's just, I guess the question is, where does it go on the house? Because you could put it anywhere and you don't, and I guess people would be, sensitive as to where they want it on their house, and they're putting it up only because they're proud that they have a historic home and they want to show the history of it.
And
Is
you get their
JPO a
small.
state
But yeah, I guess
agency,
you're right.
a
I should ask
municipal
them.
agency?
Sorry?
Is it the acronym you use, Darren? CHIPO?
SHPO, it's a state historic preservation
State
office.
Historic
It's part of the
Preservation Office.
DECD.
That's
of
a
the
state agency, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wonder if, if you want to ask the town attorney, I just wonder if they issue it and, it's the state that gives historic districts their enabling legislation that may preempt us. I don't know.
Well, that's why I'm saying I don't think they're regulated.
I think you go to the attorney. Let's ask the question. That's what they get paid for.
Yeah, okay.
I have a couple questions
Well,
if
that solves
that's it.
that. Yes, go ahead.
Do we need to get some bids in for the HRI, or has that been undertaken?
Yes, we do.
Okay. And we're
Do you have
supposed to start
qualified
that
people who you
process?
think are qualified?
Oh, yeah. There's
I've been
a
told
few.
we can go ahead and do that. I still have not heard about the grant.
Great.
I know we got approved, but I haven't, now it's, April. And even, so.
Well, there's several people I would solicit for bids. There's one guy up in Massachusetts that does these a lot and he's wonderful.
Okay.
I
great.
can't
think
think of
we
his
need at
name.
least
It's for
three,
something.
right? Just,
Yeah, I can't remember his name right now off
I
the
know
top
I
of my
got
head.
it. I did get an email from a guy months ago who's asked to be on the list, so I can I have to dig up his email. It came to his HCC email.
That would be, yeah.
But I've
I
been
think it was the
dragging
same
my
guy
feet
that
on-
I'm
on the
thinking
whole
of.
thing, to be honest.
Yeah, he would be, I think it's
Oh,
the
you
same
do?
guy from Massachusetts. He's great. He would be a good one. I know
Okay.
there's been a couple other municipalities in Connecticut that have had new handbooks written recently, and they are very, very good. I would strongly suggest seeing if we can figure out, I think I have their name somewhere who did them. We could ask them for bids as well.
Which handbooks in particular?
I can't remember. I'll have
There's
to
one I
look. I'll
just
dig
came
it
across
out. I think
for Beaufort, North Carolina.
no, they were
I came
local.
across one for Beaufort, North Carolina.
Oh, no, I'm talking about
But this
state.
one in Beaufort, North Carolina is pretty.
Okay. The only
It's a very thorough handbook.
the only
It's
thing
really pretty.
that I would say is I'd, on a personal level, love to see somebody local who's really familiar with some of the things going on in the state and some of the historic preservation issues that we're currently having. Because there's 4 different pieces
Okay.
of legislation up by SHPO that can drastically change, one of which can drastically change stuff for the
Historic districts.
for the historic districts because it kind of takes away the COA process. So I'd like to see somebody local
Sure.
that's really understanding of these kind of issues to really go over our handbook
Mm-hmm.
on a personal level.
So what in particular is some of the issues? If you don't mind me
So there's
asking
one,
briefly.
um,
Okay.
there's one having to do with the siting council because of the monopoles and stuff going on with that. So there's that affects historic preservation. Rosina, if I miss one, tell me, because I know there's 4 and I can only think of 3 at the moment. There's the one that takes away the COA process or drastically alters the COA process and takes a lot of our jurisdiction away or alters it significantly. Then there's one, I think about 830Gs.
Yes.
And then I can't remember what the 4th one is right now. Oh, the council overseeing the SHPO. That is going to be largely made of
Okay.
people outside of preservation that are all developers.
Correct.
Are not preservation minded necessarily at all. I mean, there's some significantly big and really bad legislation that could potentially
So
really
the-
ruin preservation
So they're
across the
like
state.
proposing to. Are they proposing to have like the 830G? Like we wouldn't have any say over that?
I can't remember exactly
the,
what
I guess,
it
zoning?
is. Yeah, it has something to do with oversight of some sort, and I can't remember what it is.
There's also
because
the Housing Authority expansion,
that's the one I
which
was
is
thinking of.
SB 207.
That's that one.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been really involved
What is that?
watching the siting council one because monopoles are going to be a massive problem as 2 are going up directly in front of 2 national historic landmarks in Bridgeport.
Yep.
I work at one of them. So that's the one my eyes have been on specifically, but there's at least 4, maybe 5 pieces of legislation that could substantially alter preservation in this state and not for the better.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I'm saying if we can find somebody that's local that understands what's going on, it would be to our benefit.
Interesting.
The other question I had is, James Sullivan keeps emailing me about his property on Pine Creek. Cause he wants to designate it.
Okay.
So, I don't know if he's reached out to you. I told him
So
to
the
reach
first
out
step is
to you. Because he wants to be on an agenda for the
it's
HDC to vote to potentially say yes to moving forward with a designation for him.
So we have to form a study committee and have a study written?
Well, one of two
First
things
step.
can happen. We need to say, yes, we are in support of it for him to move forward. Whether he wants to ask us
Mhm.
to do a study committee or whether he wants to hire a independent consultant is totally up to him. But we need to first say, yes, we support this. Because if that comes
Okay.
before us and three of us supported it, or three of us didn't support it and two of us did, then he can't move forward because we've turned it down.
Okay, so the first step is for me to put on the agenda or just pass out to the commission what that information that he sent us already?
No, it needs to be
Because he's already sent
formally
us
on an
information.
agenda because we need to vote on it. So if,
So you
I
have to
don't
vote on it
know,
like in a public hearing?
yeah,
Okay,
right, Rosina?
Yeah.
That's- Yeah. Because if he wants
When
us
do you do
to
that?
form a
Just like-
study committee, we will have to vote to do that as well.
okay.
And if it comes to that, I would happily do the study committee. I'll happily be on it. And Rosina will, even if it's against her better judgment. Even if she doesn't want to.
Okay,
But.
so it'll be on the
so I
agenda
don't know
as
if
new
he's
business?
emailed yet.
Yeah, I think it was a while ago. You emailed me about him, right? And then
Yeah, he said he emailed you, but I don't know if you ever got his emails. His emails
Yes.
are kind of weird when they come to me, so.
Yeah. I mean, I think we had some back and forth. I remember emailing with him, and he and then I had some back and forth with you too, and him.
Yeah.
But then it just sort of fizzled, so nothing happened, and I wasn't sure what was going on. But yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay.
I'll get him on the agenda.
He emailed me
for-
recently, so I'll
and
get
and
back.
your property is also going to be on the agenda. Yeah. Now yours, we don't have to vote on yours, all right?
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
It should have been voted on
have
before
to
it went
vote
to
on yours,
SHPO
okay.
and P and Z.
Yeah. Okay.
So thank you for distributing it. So yeah, so those were my questions. I don't think I have any others.
Okay. Excellent. Does anybody have anything else to discuss?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
That was a motion to adjourn. And you can,